So next up, we've got one of my committee members, Mr. Ed Marshall, and he is going to share some insights about working with professionals. So over to you, Ed.
Thanks, Sarah. Good to see you all. And thanks again, Amanda. That was a really fascinating presentation there and discussion. Just thinking about one aspect of financial planning, I use a financial roadmap, which is where we talk about what's important about money to our clients. And one of the questions I ask is, who wants to go first? And of course, the more dominant person's like me. Well, experience has taught me to start with the person that doesn't volunteer. So we hear the voice of the one that maybe is never normally heard. So it's great to see you all here today. Just to give you a heads up, I'm a chartered financial planner with Kingsland Wealth Management Director. And to start with a short story today. So there's a new client that we've recently onboarded, and it was referred to me by the payroll manager of an accountancy practice that we've got a very close relationship with. And as a retiring police officer, he'd been subjected to, he had a pitch from an advice firm, and it was entirely geared up around persuading him to invest his tax-free lump sum from his pension. There was about £200,000. Now, he knew that he needed to do something with this £200,000, but he didn't know what that should be. A return of 10 to 15%, these are the numbers that he gave me, had been indicated, and it suggested that he really should take action. I mean, what's he going to get from the bank as an alternative? But there was something there that meant he thought that he needed to get a second opinion. So he reached out to a family friend who's the payroll manager of the accountancy practice in the hope that they would know who to speak to. But he also admitted that if they weren't able to help, he'd just end up going to the advisors that he'd spoken to originally anyway. So we met virtually. This was kind of in the midst of lockdown. And he was initially surprised that we insisted on having his spouse present. Also, the fact that we sent a pre-meeting questionnaire to him that we insisted that he completed before we met, and also needing to have all of his financial documents to hand as well. Now, as a result of doing this, he was just thinking that he was comparing one sales pitch to another. Who's going to promise me the highest returns or the lowest fees? And during the meeting, we completed his financial roadmap and understood his goals and his values. We were then able to benchmark his current financial reality. So taking that snapshot of his current financial reality, we were able to benchmark it against where he needed to be. And only then did we actually offer to build a financial plan. So at this point, there's no discussion around tax wrappers or investment returns. Our fees were clearly and simply explained, and he just had greater clarity over his future. Indeed, they both did, him and his spouse, as to what they needed to do to get their financial house into perfect working order. Now, they did come back with a couple of questions, and these were around why we hadn't made investment returns a central part of our meeting. So what can we expect to make? They also wanted a greater understanding as to how the cash flow forecast can work as well. And I know that many of us get a lot of value for our clients from using cash flow forecasts. And if you don't, I'd urge you to look at one of the packages that are out there, because you know what, when you can create a lifetime financial plan, taking into account everything that the client has just told you is most important to them, well, after a further conversation to reinforce risk and return being intrinsically linked and how the margin that you could look to make over inflation is kind of fundamental to the plan working, then we'd completely committed to them and they had completely committed to us in order to be their trusted financial planners for life. So the clients have got that clarity for the future. The meeting is always conducted with total honesty and authenticity, with being myself, integrity being my word, and wanting the best for them from my heart. The awesome thing is that the payroll manager already knew what experience their friends were going to get, because they had already experienced this for themselves and had already made other referrals to me as well. So they've got a level 10 confidence in everything that we do and why we do it. And so it's an absolute pleasure to work with these kind of referrals. Hence why this is all about being able to collaborate with professionals, using that goals-based financial planning, and there's a little bit of radio thrown in at the end as well. So today, let's just share with you a few ideas as to how the practice has been built, working solely with professionals, introducing business to us, and working with by referral only. Embedding your business into an accountancy practice, into a legal practice, becoming their trusted advisors and part of their team. Indeed, making their office your office. and then leveraging that relationship to work alongside other professionals in the area so that you're all working together. Suddenly you've got that perfect triad. You've got the accountancy, you've got the solicitor, and of course you've got the trusted financial planner as well. And the benefit of doing all of this, it's spending more time doing what we love, helping our clients to achieve their goals for the reasons most important to them. At the same time, you can also look to build your public profile as well, raising your reputation in the area with total credibility. And one of the ways that you can do that is radio. It's worked for me over the last 14 years, and I'll continue to work for as long as I stay as a financial planner, which I'm trusting I've got another 30 or 40 years ahead of me. So I'm giving a lot of structure, a lot of detail here. Any questions that you've got, feel free to get in touch with me afterwards as well. So getting started, first up, it all starts with why. I mean, Simon Sinek talks about this. It's crucial to be able to understand why you want to deliver what you want to deliver. For me, it's caring passionately about helping my clients to achieve their goals in a way that no other firm in the area would choose to do, and working hard to build that business that's in complete alignment to our most deeply held values. And it goes way beyond creating a mission statement. It's about a defining set of values that are embodied within the business and the team. Because if we all operate with the same why, we're all going to want the same outcome. And when your values are clear, your decisions are easy. The client's at the center of everything we do. So the service that you're going to provide to them puts them at the center of everything that you do. So now we've got a clear purpose and a why, what it is that gets us out of bed in the morning and makes us strive to look after our clients as well as we can, that we can communicate that to professional partners and we can stand out above other firms. So now the second step, we've got to define our ideal clients, because we know it can be challenging to find ideal clients. I mean, let's face it, some just want to spend all their money and hope that everything will be okay in the future. Others may be collaborators, happy for you to do some of the planning, but still wanting to do some themselves. They can't let go of all the money. Or perhaps they fall into the camp of do it yourself. You know, they want to quibble about your fees before going off and implementing somewhere else. And along the way, the expression is you've got to kiss a lot of frogs, but we can define our ideal client, both in terms of assets and personality. In particular, clients that value what it is that we do and are financial delegators. A financial delegator pretty much does everything that we ask them to do without question. You sign the paperwork, we put it into action. It's that high trust client relationship that delivers those client-centric results because you've invited them to become a client. You're the buyer, not the seller. Great Dan Sullivan concept there. You've created a compelling vision for their future with that goals-based financial planning. You've then established the role that you're going to play in that. And they value this. You're going to become an integral part of their lives. The third part is charging. You've got to keep it simple. Now, other professionals charge fees for providing their services, and of course, we do the same. So define that charging structure so that it's always simple to explain, so that it's clear to understand what services are being provided in exchange. In our case, a simple blend of percentage or fixed fee costs. And to frame this up for our practice, I mean, my fees aren't based on some assumption of the hourly cost of my time, but instead upon the value of my client's time, which for our clients mean that they can spend more time on things more important than money. Imagine that. I mean, they pay us to look after their finances because they've got something more important that they'd rather be doing. And ideal clients love that outcome. That's what they want. So now what we need to do is to find the right kind of professionals to work with who are already working with the kind of clients that you've identified make up your ideal client. To work with those that already seek to achieve that same kind of deep, high trust relationship, because just because they're an accountant or just because they're a solicitor doesn't mean that you want to be working with them. You want to be working with those people that are already working with financial delegators, and you've got to pick your relationships wisely. You don't want to be jumping into bed with somebody that's just going to be giving you a headache in the years to come. So we've got to get on and actually find your professionals. Now, spending that time building your relationships with the right people that go beyond, over and above in order to create great outcomes for their clients. There are some aspects that you can consider when you're thinking, well, okay, who am I going to approach in the area about building that relationship? First up, they've got to be willing to do what others in their profession are not willing to do. Just like you, You go further than other financial planners would. You want to be working with professionals that have got exactly the same principle. They're proactive. They go the extra mile. If it's worth doing properly. It's in their DNA. They clearly stand out from the average practice in your area. They're also willing to make investments in themselves as well. That could be through achieving high levels of professional qualifications or holding higher standards than others might. For example, they're a member of STEP, or perhaps they're a resolution practitioner as a solicitor, promoting a constructive approach to family issues. They demonstrate a strong team ethic as well. They take pride in their team and the high standards that they deliver to clients, and they're public about it as well. Their business is not all about the individual, it's about the strength of the team. We love it when we see practices give back as well to charity or other social organizations in the area, not just money, but time. They're volunteering to make a difference because this is important to them. You can see how perhaps their values might be coming through and aligning with yours. And they're willing to work smarter and more efficiently. They embrace technology. Their front office is in good order. Their phones are answered politely and promptly. You're treated courteously when you meet them in person. The atmosphere and ambience, the quality of their meeting rooms. You want to be their client. And remember, you want to be meeting their referrals in that environment that they've created as well. They're always a business that's progressing, recognizing change and choosing to adapt at the beginning rather than being forced to. A great example of this is how professional firms have adapted as a result of COVID-19. Some bailed on their clients and failed to be there for them. They didn't communicate. Others reached out actively in order to communicate and be heard, filling that void and giving their clients that reassurance. And also they're practices that focus on what they can control, not what they can't. So conversations with those partners tend to be uplifting and motivating. We can't change politics or regulations or the markets or the weather, but we can create the most fantastic lives for our clients jointly, along with our colleagues and families as well. So this is about their attitude and their mindset. When you're approaching professionals to collaborate with, who are the leaders in the area? You're building a picture of the professionals in your town that fit the bill. And it's fun because they look like you. You're getting excited thinking about working with them, and it makes the approach so much easier because you know the value that you can bring. The power of your will is what is going to win this, because you're going to get to places that other financial advisors haven't. And you know what? They want you. They don't even know you yet, but yet they want you. They just don't know it. And the value that we provide to our accountancy partners and how easy we make their lives, and then the lives for their clients, that's where the referrals just start to stream through. So how do we actually understand what it is that they want? So you've figured out who is going to be the great fit. And you know what? The great fit for you means that they're not going to want the majority of advisors in your area, because actually they're not going to come up to scratch, because every client of theirs is their best client and they care about them deeply. So what we want to be doing here is to figure out how we, the trusted financial planner, can complement their services. And to get to the bottom of that, it's Dan Sullivan again. It's the Dan Sullivan concept. It's the R question. To be able to say to that solicitor, to that accountant, if we're having this discussion 3 years from today, and you're looking back over those 3 years, what needs to have happened both personally and professionally for you to be happy with the progress that you've made? Now, you've made it all about them, not you. You know what's important, and therefore you can also know where you can add the most value. And does this align with what's important to you? Again, you're the buyer, not the seller. A seller can get rejected. A buyer is the one that does rejecting. I'm sorry, but actually, I don't believe that this relationship is going to work. It's been really good to know you, and you're going to move on to the next practice if it's not falling into line. And I know that a lot of you will already be doing this, but just some simple examples as to how we can help, because it astonishes me. We have conversations with our professional partners, and we remind them frequently as to what we can do, and then they forget. So we have to keep on reinforcing this. And these examples of what we're able to do is the trustee investments, taking the pressure away from them and having to figure out what to be doing as trustees and how to manage that money. How many times have we seen trusts appointed, and then trustees have been appointed as well, but they just simply don't have a clue what to do? The money's sitting there in cash. They feel uncomfortable about it, but they don't know what to do. Divorce solicitors, we have a huge amount of success with, because what we're actually able to do now is, instead of having clients refer to us once they've got the pension share in order, we're completing financial roadmaps at the beginning of the divorce process. because the solicitor is then able to know what it is that their client truly wants and needs to get out of this. And it might mean they're going to structure that financial settlement and approach it from a different way. Of course, then it comes to the implementation of that pension sharing order, which is good work to do. And the solicitors are just like, thank God you've managed to deal with that for us, and we know the client is okay. Also, how often is it that perhaps the accountant or the solicitor knows that their clients have inherited money? And again, they care deeply about knowing that that client is actually making the right decisions with that money that they've suddenly received. You know, they're concerned that they're going to be approached by somebody that hasn't got their best interests at heart, or they're just going to leave the money in the bank and worry about it. And you know what? It's amazing how many people actually care about their risk, the risk that their clients might be facing in life as well, be it life, health, or income. They know that there's a need for the clients to protect themselves with insurance, but they don't know how to do it, and they know that their clients need that peace of mind, So what we're doing here is making sure that you've got the needs covered, and you're thinking about your values with all of this as well. You're not pitching investment returns products or competing on fees. You're taking away the uncertainty and replacing it with solid, reliable, predictable outcomes. Solicitors, accountants love this, because the kind of ones that you want to be working with, because it always brings it back around to the client. So now we figured out who we want to deal with. We've got to get started. We know what our ideal client and our ideal professional looks like. So we've got to make a list. After all, success always starts with a list. And out of those potential professionals who you want to work with, list them in order. And then devise your initial approach. I promise you, writing a script makes it really, really easy, because you're staying on target. You know what you want your outcome to be from that initial approach. And if you think, I'm not going to use a script, they'll know I'm speaking from a script. I promise you, they don't. Nobody ever does. It just means that you sound really good as you're putting across a very effective communication. What's your in going to be? I mean, have you worked together before with a mutual client, perhaps? Have you met them before at networking? Perhaps they've been referred by a mutual friend. Do they have similar values that they broadcast that you can relate to? And simply suggest a meeting off the back of this. Hey, I love the way that you do business and what's important to you. That resonates with me. It's how I run my practice. We need to be able to meet. So you've got to be consistent. You've got to have that vision, because you're driving this. Again, you're the buyer, not the seller. Make it all about them. And the right people are going to be drawn to you, because at the end of the day, you want to be collaborating with the best. And again, coming back to Dan Sullivan, I mean, it's the 4 C's. It's commitment. You've got to commit to what you're doing, and you've got to pluck up that courage to make those approaches. But you know what? The more you do it, the better you get. That's where the capability comes in. And then you've got the confidence. Like, you can be doing this all day. You're thinking, hang on a minute, I can build more than one relationship. I can build 2, I can build 3. And then lather, rinse, and repeat. It's wonderfully simple. So go get that meeting, use the R question, figure out whether that's a good fit for both sides. And if so, it's time to make an offer. Now, making an offer, this is where you've got to give them the opportunity to experience your discovery meeting. So on the basis that you're a great fit, one of the best ways to get that relationship moving is for them to experience it. Remember, you're not pitching for their business, but you're really passionate about making sure that they get the experience that their clients are going to receive, that your clients get every single day. The peace of mind from knowing that their financial house is in perfect working order, because after all, if they're going to be referring to you, they need to know what their clients are going to get. And the premise for the meeting is that whatever the outcome, they're going to enjoy it. They probably already have a relationship with an existing financial planner, and you want to leave them thinking, wow, why have I not experienced that depth of discovery meeting before, or had such a comprehensive offer to build a financial plan that's all about them? So on the basis that they love what you do, it's time to get that commitment to work together. Now, in order to do that, you're going to need to set out a framework for how you're going to work together, a charter of what's expected from both parties, because you've both got to put into this relationship to make it work. So have a structure. First up, you've got to be visible in their offices. The more visible you are, the more referrals you'll receive. It's all very well leaving cards around the place and speaking to people. You've got to be visible, approachable. Either if it's in an open plan office, great, you're in the middle of it. If it's that you're in an office with a door, your door's always open. You've got to be visible. There's a direct relationship between hours spent physically in the office and the referrals that you get. because you've got to be embedded within their business and their processes so that their clients get the greatest support and the opportunity to benefit from what you do. You've got to understand their workflows and their client touch points. How can you support them? How can you sort of align to those touch points as well? So if they're sending out a communication, you're there with them too. When the partner's walking past and they've been scratching their head thinking about a client, your door's open. They're just simply going to be able to walk in and say, hey, Ed, I've just got a question about this client that I'm working on at the moment. Think you might be able to help. But if you weren't there, they may never have asked that question. And design a referral matrix as well. A nice, easy to use form that highlights the opportunities for them to refer to you and how you can help them. Making sure your diary is accessible and that people know where you are and how to get a hold of you. So on the desk, I leave a sheet of paper and it's got 4 weeks laid out where I'm going to be. Am I in this office or am I in the other office or am I working from home? Here's my email. Here's my office number. Here's my mobile number, so that they always know how to get a hold of me. And make sure that they've got access to your calendar as well, and that their PA can actually schedule meetings directly into your calendar. Don't create obstructions that could mean that action isn't taken. The easier you make life, the more friction you take out of the process, the more referrals you get, because you're just taking away headaches, you're taking away obstructions, you're making life easy for them. And then you've got to design systems so that they can report back and you can report back. Because what's really important is that they know those referrals are followed through on and that they can be tracked. You can actually track referrals that have worked, referrals that haven't, why they've worked, why they haven't, and also fee income as well. If you've got a fee split with them, then it's about making that pounds and pence happen for them too. And get a monthly recurring meeting in the diary as well, so that you are sitting down every month for that feedback opportunity, highlighting success stories, highlighting case studies, and also looking at current planning opportunities that could be calendar based or just simply what's going on in the world right now. So finally, you can actually formalize this and you can actually make sure that everyone's got a stake. So you can build that relationship. You could build a joint venture. They've got 49%, you got 51%. Then everybody's committed to a greater level. You know, on the basis that perhaps you're working with the name of their practice, if they've got the kudos and that relationship in the area that everybody knows their name and they're the trusted brand, you know, build that separate business, that joint venture using their brand, and you can capitalize off that as long as all those points that I've mentioned before, you know, you are all aligned and this is a relationship that you are committed to. So important. Now, the last little part of this, getting the message out and radio, just throwing this in because back in 2008, our office took a telephone call and it was a local radio station that they wanted a comment from a local practice and they had our number. Now, our chairman, Sean, he'd previously participated in a program for a while in the past. I didn't even know about this, but there's a lot of firms in the area and we were one of the firms they called. A simple comment over the phone will be fine, they said. It'll only take 2 minutes. I said, we're not doing this over the phone. Your studios are only 5 minutes away. I want to be in the studio. So the end result, the 2 minutes became 5 minutes on air with a request to go back the following morning on the breakfast show to talk about the same story. So, you know, when these opportunities kind of arise, go above and beyond. How can I be of value to you? Surely being in the studio is going to be better than being on the telephone, right? This is what we do for our clients every day. We go above and beyond. Well, it's just an opportunity that I had to go above and beyond. Now, I suggested that, you know, I'd love to support the station and provide further comments. So now we have the Money Monday listened to by tens of thousands on the breakfast show every few weeks. Listeners are actually sending their questions in days before I'm due to go on air. And it's led to other opportunities as well, including BBC Politics, BBC Breakfast, other local radio stations regularly sort of getting in touch, asking for a comment, and also a local hustings as well, which was a real experience before the last election. So it's really easy to approach your local radio station because you know what? They want local news stories. Money topics always generate listeners and interest. And the cool thing is that money's global. You know, it happens all around the world, but you can make it relevant to your local area. And by being that consistently reliable and trusted voice, so many other opportunities come off the back of this. And over the years, it doesn't happen straight off, but over the years of continually being committed, then the phone calls start to come through because they only mention the company name at the beginning and at the end, never during. But you know what? Clients get used to hearing your voice. and then they go online and find you, or they ring the studio, they ring the station and say, can you give me Ed's number? And you get some great referrals coming through off the back of it. So again, make that list of stations, just like when you're looking for your professionals. Make a list, figure out a script, and get in touch. So in a nutshell, keep pushing, always ask for more. The opportunities are out there. And in summary, you know, you're the architect of your future, so own it. There are so many opportunities out there. Go get them. You are the buyer, not the seller. Make sure you've got that structure and that momentum and that predictability and reliability with everything that you do. Make it all about them. It's not about you. It's all about them. How can I make your life easier? How can I bring more value into your life? Create a plan, write it down, commit to it, deliver to it. Be that trusted voice on financial matters in your area, and be the financial planner that everybody is ready to work with. And so I've rattled through there, finishing just on time, I hope, Sarah. But yeah, thank you very much.